Debbie, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Brockmeyer,
Present.
Councilmember Berger,
Present.
Councilmember Holdren. Present. Councilmember Marino. Present. Councilmember Knox,
Here.
Councilmember Oswald.
Here.
Mayor Foskey.
Present. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, the first item, can you hear me? Is that better? It's not even on, is it? And that's the Allen. The first item is, we need to amend the agenda to include committee appointments to the planning commission and the FOS board. So if everybody have a motion to amend the agenda, we'll take that up later on in the meeting. So I second it. Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. The second comment is that to council is that we're resuming all our meetings. People are having problems hearing what council's saying on the Zoom meeting.
Yes.
We're talking over each other. And so if you want to, I hate to be, like elementary school, but if you want to speak, please raise your hand and I'll acknowledge you. And then we probably should say the person speaking so that the people on Zoom can hear what's going on. I know it's a lot more formal, but there are problems with people hearing on Zoom. Okay. I need a motion to approve the minutes from December 19th, 2022 meeting. So moved. Second. Second. Okay, discussion or any corrections to those minutes?
Yeah, there. Page 4.
Yes.
This is Cindy Holdren speaking. I had a question on number 5, page 2. It said that, let's see, the Councilmember Knox moved to adopt the ordinance, but it doesn't state who seconded the motion.
Listen to the tape on that, I guess, correct?
I'll
Yeah.
correct it.
All right.
Thanks.
Any other corrections?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Joy Marino, page 3. A resolution for loan grant for police department and water department vehicles. We discussed that last month. It's on this month's agenda.
It's two different resolutions. The first is to resolve that the town would allow to enter into negotiations with USDA. And then the second one tonight is we actually received the loan and grant, so you need to adopt that.
And on page 4, under next to last bullet point, I think it should residents within. Oh, no, that's radius and will be directly just a grammatical thing. Big deal.
That's right.
You think so?
Yeah.
Didn't make sense to me.
Any further questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, council action, USDA loan resolution, Matt?
You sort of said all that already. Last month, you approved a resolution to allow the town to pursue a loan with USDA. Since that time, they've issued the loan and the grant, and they gave us the maximum possible grant. So we got a grant of $40,000, $116,000 purchase.
What are we buying?
Well, you're buying a police car and a water vehicle.
Okay, all right, just one.
Yeah.
A water vehicle, you mean?
A vehicle for the water department,
Yeah,
yes.
get this conversation.
Sorry, my bad.
Okay, all right, so we need a motion. Is there a motion in here?
No, you could just adopt it as presented. It's all canned language from USDA.
Okay,
I move that we adopt the motion under the, what is it?
Resolution.
The what?
Resolution.
Loan resolution, I'm sorry. Thank you. We adopt the loan resolution as presented.
do we second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Scott. Joy Marina, does this come under our procurement policy?
Yeah, everything that goes through the federal government has to have trade bids and or state contract. These two items are going through state contract.
Very good.
Any other questions, discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Alrighty. We're on to council discussion, on Hancock Main Street presentation.
I think y'all will be able to hear me without mics. If you're,
It's good because there's.
can y'all hear me?
There is no mic.
College theater training. Don't project to the back of the room. So this is our annual update.
Could you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Janet Foskey. People know me because I'm such a pest around town. But I am Janet Foskey, president of Hancock Main Street at 16 Market Street. We present an annual update to the town council because they do have us as a line item in their budget. And we appreciate that. We need that towards our operating costs, and we want to let you all know what we feel like we've accomplished in 2022 and what we're planning for this year. Slide.
Sarah Knock, may I interrupt to ask, will we be able to get that presentation?
PowerPoint, sure,
Thank you.
and the narrative that I'm reading, can be forwarded to you as well.
That would be great. Thank you.
All right. A recap of some of our most significant achievements include the fact that we earned the National Main Street accreditation this year. We already have the Virginia Main Street. It's a rigorous process. I can hand most of that credit to our program manager, Jenny Gaiman, for all of the paperwork and effort involved in gathering statistics and bringing that to the national Main Street for accreditation. It opens up even more funding and professional support for our organization, which of course directly comes to you all and to the town. We increased our board when Lisa Figge joined us, and she will be assuming the position of treasurer when one of our founding board members, Carol Tunstall, steps down this winter. Carol has been invaluable in her vision and her organizational skills. She took over as treasurer for me and didn't murder me for it. So we will be forever in her debt for getting us on solid economic footing. Main Street partnered with the town to establish the $90,000 business facade improvement grant that will soon be launched, that serves all the commercial properties located in town zone business districts. Main Street partnered with the town to design new public restrooms, which will be located in the town center. Main Street volunteers generated 2,100 volunteer hours, which equal, according to Virginia Main Street, their state monetary value per hour of $62,895 worth of value to the town. We applied for and received $88,787,000 in grant action and in-kind, direct action grants and in-kind funding. Slide. We're bringing public art to the downtown in the form of murals. Phase 1 began with a $10,000 grant, and we have engaged an artist who will put a original work of art with the theme of one of Hancock's assets on the rear of 9 North Street, which is the rear of the building now owned by the Benekins, that was once the Charlotte Dining Room. And so it will enhance the trip up North Street. It will be a nice diversion from an otherwise very just serviceable alley. It's visible to the parking lot, the town parking lot. So it'll be a nice place to have a little bit of art. The second part of that project will be a Willie Crockett reproduction on the east-facing wall of the second story of the Crockett Gallery. And the art was chosen by his family and is depicted here. And the artist will reproduce it in about a 11-foot high by 22-foot wide rendering. slide. Phase 2 is a $20,000 project. We've been in conversation with the North Street Playhouse for several months with the board, and they are enthusiastically allowing us to put a mural on that 85-foot long by 10-foot high empty wall on Ames Street. And the theme of all of our murals is assets of Anacog. So we're choosing the performing arts and the history of performing arts, from the floating steamboats that were down at the wharf to the present, the cinema, the playhouse, musical performing arts will all be part of a wonderful tableau. We just released the call for artists and expect to be interviewing them.
Oh my God.
Month, and we'll have someone chosen by the 15th of March. So
He used
we
to
expect to
still-
have this unveiled by the end of the summer.
Cindy didn't want to sit beside
Slide.
Joy found out.
Last year, we spent approximately $25,000 in grant funding to promote Anacog to potential visitors through print, digital, media ads, welcome center displays like this one shown here. This was at the East Coast Hub, which is new on Route 64. More people come through there. It's one of the 3 biggest hubs in the state. And we pay for the space, we decorated it, we concentrated on the natural environment, which is a little difficult to see in the provincial path. But we got such a response. They said they've had more response from that than most of their other displays over the last couple of years. People were stopping and going, I live in Anacog, and I never
I
knew
said
they do things like
Ray
this. So
Burger, because Ray
we'll
Burger.
continue to do that in years to come.
Nicole, shut up.
In addition, we
Yeah.
promote through our experienceanacog.com website, which is a tourism site. We host travel authors. We do social media and push out their videos.
I was dying.
I forget
I
anything?
was dying.
Okay, good. Slide. Much publicized was the part of the grant that gave us the money, which is really only $2,500, to do empty windows in businesses that are in transition or empty while they're being renovated. And so we started with 9 North Street, and it's now kind of interesting and enticing. And the next project will be the Lowston buildings, 6 windows. So this was kind of fun. Go by and look at it. Basically, someone behind that door is having a conversation with somebody else about what do you think it's going to be? And of course, even I think the owners of the building at this point haven't decided. So no one had the answer yet, particularly not us. Slide, please. That same grant gave us $10,000 to launch a downtown gift card program. This will have a long-term benefit of giving people a chance to support downtown businesses online by buying this card. Have you ever wanted to give a gift, but didn't want to choose which restaurant or which gallery you were going to give the gift card from? This way, it will be accepted at most businesses in the downtown. So you just are supporting the downtown easily. To launch it, we're putting $10,000 behind this as a buy one, get something card. So that will multiply the benefits to the point that that $10,000 will generate a total of $46,120, which will go directly into the merchants' pockets, just from that small investment of the buy one, get one. And if you want to know the math, email us and we'll send you the math breakdown. Slide, please. Most exciting of all, and it's hard to say this without almost getting emotional, is getting $1 million for the Williston rehab. We partnered with the town and Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development to get a revitalization grant that basically gives the town $1 million to dole out to the developers of the Williston building, and they will repay it over 10 years in a low interest 2.5% loan. The beauty of it is that the money will then stay with the town, and the town will turn it into a revolving loan for revitalization efforts of the same types of blighted buildings. So this now will become an evergreen revolving loan fund of $1 million that this town can use indefinitely. Slide, please. Our strategic plan that has just been updated for 23-24. And we have simply 3 goals, but they consist of quite a few objectives within these goals. The first goal being to ensure the long-term sustainability of a Nancock Main Street organization. The objectives are to develop a long-range funding plan for us because pretty much 100% of the grant funding that we get goes directly into direct action projects. It does not support administrative, office rent, the staff help that we need. So we are working on a funding plan to keep us upright and moving forward. We also are looking to strengthen our board positions and increase the board. We want to maintain the performance level of our professional staff, and that takes training and seminars. And we are implementing a robust volunteer program. Our second goal of enhancing the attractiveness of Historic Downtown, you can see we're going to continue the mural, public mural work as soon as the town has its master plan in place and public lands are determined to be, here's somewhere for a fountain, here's somewhere for a sculpture. We'll work on grant funding for those sorts of things as well. But for right now, murals are where we can achieve this because we're mostly working with private property. We're going to keep filling the empty windows as long as the money holds out. And we certainly like ideas from people. One idea that we've got is fun facts about a Nancock. We'd like to have 1 or 2 windows on the Wilson building that are just fun facts, like Walter Cronkite was towed in here once when his boat broke down out on the Chesapeake Bay. So did y'all know that? I didn't know that. So if you have things like that, email the nancockmainstreet@gmail.com and we'll put it in the window. We're going to continue to work with the town to promote and support preservation enhancement of historic and cultural assets. Part of that will be helping to allocate the funds, the ARPA funds for this facade improvement grant. Part of that will be helping to bring our experience and input into the town master plan as it's being formed of professionals the town is hiring. Our third goal is strengthen the economic vitality of downtown Nancock. We are working to identify and recruit new businesses to downtown. We have $5,000 in funding. Wasn't sexy enough for a photo, so I'll just tell you about it. To develop a marketing plan. We have experts working on that. We're working with community college to develop an internship for it. And that will give us a sort of a visual. So if somebody comes into town and says, what's for rent? And what's the landlord asking? And what will it take to fix that up? We'll have all those answers so that they can, be slotted into what's appropriate for them. It also helps us go out and recruit businesses for those empty buildings. And for buildings whose owners need a succession plan. We're identifying the needs of potential business owners and determining what their promotional needs are, what their educational needs are. We're going to bring classes to them to help them do better with promoting themselves on social media. Right now, because of our interaction with them, we understood that they needed help in the first quarter. So all of the Valentine promotions that you see right now are because of the input that we've gotten from the businesses, letting us know when they need the help. And we're going to promote the district, continuing on and off the shore with potential businesses coming in and with visitors, bringing them to the shore. We, of course, couldn't do any of this without the support of our community, the encouragement of our community, and with the support that y'all have shown us since the beginning. We appreciate it. We hope you keep us on that budget. We feel like we're forming a really great partnership and strengthening it every year. So thank you. does anybody have questions for him?
Could you, does everybody know Jenny? Jenny Dean?
Jenny, would you stand up?
Yeah.
Jenny is our program manager and makes us all look good. Basically does all the wrangling of all the volunteers and all the paperwork.
Any questions?
Sarah, not a question, but a follow-up to one of the things you mentioned. We have pinned down the guidelines in the application form for the facade grant and set the application window, which is going to be February 1st to March 18th. And there's a page on the town website where those documents are or will be. We've got a press release just about ready to go, and so we're hoping to get some publicity for it as well. So I just wanted, while that was
We
on the
will
table
amplify that for
to,
sure. Yeah.
to give that detail too.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The next item for council discussion is the police presentation on staffing.
So I'm gonna go through the presentation and then Chief is gonna answer any questions that you have. Fair enough? Okay, so the question was asked, do we need 4 or 5 police officers? And the reason we were asked that was because we felt that there was a perception that our compensation wasn't adequate to attract or retain police officers. And the question was, would we remove the 5th officer from our budget and take that salary and allocate it among the remaining 4 so that our wages were higher and more competitive? So that's the core nature of the question. There was also a belief that we had high turnover in our police department. So I wanted to talk through all of those. Attracting officers, the question on the table is are our wages competitive? I was able to speak with 3 of my cohorts and town managers around the shore and found out, and as well as the sheriff, where our wages fall by rank for officers. That's sort of a way where we can compare apples and apples with other agencies on the shore. And it looked like, without reading you numbers, that our pre-academy wages, that's an untrained officer who comes to us, our wages are very competitive for that new person. Slips a little bit in the post-academy. Other communities tend to give a $4,000 to $5,000 bonus or a raise when you complete your work in the academy. Our sergeants and captains are just, both of them are low in the marketplace. I'm going to say by a little, between $2,000 to $5,000 per person. So it's not catastrophic in the center range. And then our chief is fairly compensated based on the others. There are other chiefs that make significantly more, but there are also communities that are significantly larger. So his compensation seems to be fair. So the wages seem to be okay.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
Mr. Spock.
yeah.
Councilmember Moreno, since public employees are public information
Yeah.
salary, where is town A and town B?
Town A is only, town B is Cape Charles, and today I got town C of Chincoteague.
What's the last one?
Chincoteague was,
On.
it's not on here, I've got it, I can share it with you, I just got it today.
So do they not give post academy raises in any of the areas except for sheriff?
Yes, the Chincoteague does, and it's substantial. They give about a $10,000 bump in compensation when they graduate.
Thank you.
Any other? Okay.
Actually,
Yeah.
Sarah, now I've got a question. I recall that when the 2 recently trained officers left, there was a degree of payback of the training cost that the town had incurred on their behalf. Is that under consideration too? I mean, we don't want to make it so burdensome that nobody wants to come work for an Hancock, but
we want to make it.
Is
burdensome
it
enough where
fair
they
to
wanna
the
leave.
town on the
Yeah.
other hand?
I'm going to talk about that in just a minute,
Okay,
but yes, the officer who left had a prorated portion of their, they had a $5,000 bonus that they had to give back in a prorated sense if they left before 3 years, 5 years, 5 years. So yes, they got a bill with it.
Ms. Oswald, isn't it also so true that when they're recruited away, that the agency that they recruit to will pay their fine or their training fee?
That would be great.
Excuse me,
That would be great. It-
they don't.
Not in these cases.
No, she's asking if they get hired away from here, will the county pay them back if they have to pay us?
That, I don't know whether they're gonna pay them or not. but
Yeah, that's
they're
right.
not
Yeah, that's
paying
the
us.
question.
Paying us on
Right,
these
yeah,
things.
yeah. Yeah, they don't know the answer.
I don't believe so.
Okay, all right, let's go.
Excuse me, one Maria, how many, like, for instance, Cape Charles has, these are 2021 statistics, has 1,239 population, which is similar to ours. How many police officers do they have in Cape Charles?
I don't know the answer to that. I know the answer to Chincoteague, but it's 7 or 9.
Cape Charles is 7 to 8.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind that their population increases to roughly 8,000 during the summer.
And only,
Only has 3.
4 to 5 depending.
How many do they have now? 4?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So the next question was, we're having a problem with a lack of qualified candidates or applicants. I was able to find a story on CNN. We are not alone with this problem. February 3rd of 2022, CNN reported that the country police force are down 18%. Much of that is due to young people not wanting to apply for police officers because of the climate towards police officers right now, and also retirements are exceptionally high. It increased by 44%. So between people leaving for retirement and not coming in, it's creating a big problem. We're seeing that on the shore as well. You also have to, when you look at the post, you'll see that just about every agency on the shore is hiring. Retaining officers, I want to address the appearance that we've had trouble retaining police officers. In the last 10 years, we have lost 7 officers. The reasons were 2 just left the profession completely. 1 went to the sheriff for a promotion. 1 moved away. Another left for financial reasons. 1 left because medical insurance is too expensive here. And the other left was to I didn't know a way to say this, but to pursue more exciting police work. So of the 7 resignations, 4 went to the sheriff and the other 3 were not work related. So we don't necessarily have a retention problem.
how does that, Saranac, how does that 7 over 10 years hit the 10 years? Is it concentrated at the more recent part or spread evenly across the whole span?
Well, we know of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them were recent.
Yes,
Yeah,
one
okay.
moved away, one got out of it,
Yeah,
and the other 3 were money, retirement, medical insurance and
exciting.
more excitement. Yeah.
Okay, so if we were looking at, say, the last 3 or 4 years, those five would, so there were only a couple of them in the early part of the 10 years window is what I'm trying to ask.
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
So the one reason that popped up as something that I think warrants discussion was the cost of our medical insurance. The town pays 100% for the individual or the employee's coverage. That's a great benefit and consistent with other towns. Chincoteague and Cape Charles both do exactly the same thing. The cost for a 2-person coverage is $331 per pay period. We get paid 26 times a year, so that's $8,600. The cost for family coverage is $662 per pay period, or 17,000 and change. That means that our starting wage of $47,000, when you take out the cost of medical, brings a net of $30,188. All newer employees have to contribute to the retirement system, and they're required to contribute 5%. So by the time you take out the medical and the required retirement, they only have wages of $27,818, and then they get taxed on that. Now, these are family people, so I think you can tell that that would be an incredible challenge to lead a family on that kind of a wage. So we're almost forcing ourselves into the type of officer that we're going to get. If we want to attract family police officers or police officers with families, we truly have to deal with this.
Cindy Holdren, how do these costs compare to the sheriff and the other towns?
The sheriff, I don't know. The other towns have different types of insurance than we. They have, like Cape Charles has a PPO with an HSA, so they can allow people to participate in different levels. They're looking at the same thing we are. How do they give their employees high quality benefits and at the same time, maintain a budget that's pretty tight?
Joy Marina,
Yeah,
you said the town currently pays for the individual.
the employee,
100%,
yes.
But the two-person is $331 per pay. What's a pay period?
Every other week, we get
2
paid
weeks.
26 times a year.
So that's $662 a month they're paying for
Well-
two, or even more for the family.
Yeah, plus the 2 extras, so that's why it's 8,000 a year, because we get paid more than twice a month, twice per year.
Right.
Yeah.
Sarah Knox. Am I hearing correctly that there is no subsidy to the insurance for a spouse or other family members, so that the full cost of the premium falls on the officer? Is that
That's
what's
exactly
not
right.
said here?
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's no contribution to family or spousal coverage by the town.
So we're not paying the differential between the single person rate and family?
We pay the single
For
rate,
everyone.
and then the remainder is
Right, so it's
100% the burden of the
difference.
employee.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a better way to phrase it. Thank you.
Ms. Oswald, do we know if the other towns pay beyond the single coverage?
They do not right now.
So we are still within the same margin as everyone else.
Yeah, we're very comparable.
Thank you.
Ours are more expensive because we have a different insurance.
We
I
have
want to be
better
clear on it.
insurance.
We have much better insurance, yeah.
Okay.
So then the big question, I think, is does having more officers reduce crime? In the last 10 years, Hancock had 803 criminal offenses. A criminal offense is defined as a crime that the Hancock police worked. When an agency other than Hancock works a crime scene, if we're not on duty and they show up, or it's a crime that we just simply don't have the personnel to manage, that crime is not reported in this 803 units, because honestly, the sheriff responds, he reports or they report by zip code. So 23417 includes the town, but it includes much more than the town, and there are some troubled areas in that zip code. So it would be very difficult to get that. So this number only includes crimes that our police department worked. Over the last 10 years, the Hancock averaged 4.2 officers. I cut that in half because it was heavy at the beginning. So from 2012 to 2016, we averaged 4.6 officers and 68.6 criminal offenses per year. Okay, that's an important number, the 68.6 per year. For the next 5 years, we had an average of 3.8 officers and we had 92 criminal offenses. So fewer officers, higher criminal offenses. That relationship is important to look at. The other thing, and Sarah mentioned it before, was we had 2 officers that were going through the academy and going through their field training. And they could not work independently because of that status. So the number was 3.8, but it was actually significantly less than that because they couldn't work by themselves. So we're independently working officers is the next question that we had was, the time on patrol is diluted if they have to sit in the car with somebody else. In Virginia, there are 2 police academies per year, and they just increased the time requirement for each class to 5 months. So if an officer goes to the academy, it takes 5 months from the first day to the last day. Then after that, they have 240 hours of supervised time here. So that's 6 weeks plus 5 months, plus whatever time they were an employee before they went to the academy. So best case is about 8 months from the day to hire until they can drive around independently. So that's what a new officer without certification costs us. So if you look at the considerations other than that, each officer, I guess it would be each full-time officer, after training hours, administrative hours, sick leave, vacation hours, leave 1,485 possible hours to patrol. So that's the total number that they could possibly be out on the street. If we have 4 officers, that covers 68% of total time. So 2/3 or so of our town is covered by patrol with 4 officers. With 5, that increases to 85%. One of the considerations you have to have is, remember we mentioned that other agencies will pick up for us when we're not on duty. Their response time is significantly longer than ours. We're in town, our response time is less than 5 minutes. The sheriff's department they have a much bigger territory, so just to get here takes significantly longer. So when we have fewer officers, we will have longer response time. That's just a matter of math. So the core question was, does the Nancock need 4 or 5 officers? Our recommendation is to stick with 5. Our other recommendations are to look at the current signing bonus and the compensation after the academy. The other recommendation is to look at, and you spoke to this about the leaving the academy, was to get a stronger employment contract for those who choose to leave after the academy. And we pay all of that time. I've worked with Eric and we've developed a contract that came from another city in Virginia. And it has significantly more financial consequences for an officer who chooses to leave after we train significantly. And it's legal according to our lawyer. So that's the good part. And we're fine tuning it because we've got a young person that we've hired. Increase the post-academy wages. I think that once they become a trained officer, their time is worth more than a probationary officer. I think we need to increase the mid-level compensation. That would be our sergeant and our captain. I think they're under market right now, and if we were to lose them for financial reasons, it would be catastrophic. So, I mean, the world will continue to turn, but I would rather not have to fight it. I think we need to look very closely at restructuring our medical insurance contribution requirements. And then I think we should also, if retention is an issue, I think we should consider a bonus for every 3 years. It wouldn't be put into the base salary, so it wouldn't be a permanent thing, but I think that's important to say thank you to people for staying when they don't have to. Yeah.
Thank you, Oswald. The restructure of medical insurance contribution requirements. I would like to know what the other employees would feel about that. I understand that this is a different category altogether. Because when we went to, when we went to a VML meeting, they said, who's going to go down an alley with a gun in their hand? And not one person in the room raised their hand. But so I understand.
Aren't you talking about doing it for everybody?
Yeah, I would.
That's my question. So I'm saying, I understand the difference in what you're doing and what everybody else is doing. But if I was an employee, I'd be questioning also the compensation across the board, you don't pay the family anything else that anything insurance for you. Okay, so should we question it across the board?
Yes.
Okay.
So the, so I mean, the devil's in the details here. So at some point, you're gonna come up with a plan. It's gonna have to be budget related.
It is.
So I guess your question is, do you want, the question is, do we, I guess the big thing is, you know, do we need 4 or 5, and do we need to kind of have them come back to us with these recommendations? And obviously, they're gonna be, you know, they're gonna be numbers. Yeah, so is that, I guess that's the question. I guess the first question is, do we feel like we need 5 officers? That's their first recommendation. Let's, anybody have any, I mean,
Yeah, I have a question about that. Joy Marina. In speaking with family members who are police officers and some here in town. It seems like the younger guys want more time off. But the older guys want to increase their retirement, which I totally understand. I did the same thing and make more money.
Yeah.
So how do your officers feel, Chief Eric?
Across the board. Literally, well, I have 2 currently, and one wants every minute I can give, the other one wants time off with their family. I've got literally split right now.
You have how many officers right now?
2.
And you and
And new,
Officer Kim?
no, it's me. Kim Whitelock, Phil Barringer,
3.
3, so it's me and 2.
Okay,
And they're split. One of them wants all the hours he can get, the other one doesn't mind working whatsoever, but it likes his time off, likes their time off.
so you're 50-50.
So,
That's probably how it goes. Depending on age.
and I've talked to officers this past week about hiring, and as we said, we lost one for more excitement. I had a more seasoned officers who said our crime rate's too high. They didn't want to work because of that. So we're literally across the, I'm sorry.
Make this possible. My nephew is a police captain. And they're going through similar negotiations and things. One of the things he said that the officers wanted was more to earn paid time off. So that they would have more time, family time.
Mhm.
Now, that came with longevity on the job. And are we looking at that as an option?
can we get back to the 4 or 5 here thing? We kind of slipped off this, you know.
Okay, okay, I said 5.
Yeah, let's, that's the question on the table here.
Suggestion
Yeah.
to me, Matt should present us with budget
Okay,
options.
for everybody. Okay, make good point.
That is my plan. I was gonna put together. a
Yeah,
board.
okay, so, all right.
You said that we needed to get those figures.
Yeah, but I didn't, I thought that it would be hard. I was assuming that he would work with the number we give him, but he can give us a plan for both, I guess. Yeah. That's fine. That's a good point, you know.
Cindy Holdren, if I could mention one other thing, if you remember last year during the budget, I mentioned benefit pickups. And you mentioned the 5% contribution for state retirement. It is possible for the town to pay the employee's share. Just as another thought.
They could pay the 5%, what you're saying?
Yeah, that's something we probably have to do across the board, not just.
Yeah.
We can't just do, yeah, all right. So is everybody comfortable with getting some, you know, proceeding with this and then,
Proceeding with
getting some details?
Yeah, it'll be part of the budget process.
Well, I mean, the other question is there, if we're totally opposed to staying with 4, and we definitely want 5, so we're gonna waste this time coming up with 4? I mean, I don't want to waste our time, but we want to see both numbers.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it depends because, I mean, it's all cost related.
Exactly.
How much of the health insurance you pick up? Does that, you know, if you're gonna pick it up all for everybody, can we afford 5? I don't know.
Do we, excuse me, make this household, do we need 5? And then need overrides?
Well, yeah, need or, yeah, well, yeah, I think, I mean, I'm always in favor of, when you look at these percentages of how much time you're gonna be on, there's a big difference. And I know you've always said it's nice to try to approach, you know, 100% coverage, and to me, that's, nice thing, because the last few years, somebody calls and there's nobody to answer, you know, and that's frustrating. You have to tell the citizens, you know, so let's work, let's work the numbers out there. Brandon?
Brandon Brockmeyer. I think one thing that we need to remember when we're talking about how many officers we want potentially is that if we want 5, when one retires, when one moves, when one changes position, then you're down to 4 until we can ever find a 5th one again. So that's something that we just need to remember, that we may not be at 5 all the time, but we might need to be there.
All right, any other questions or what time frame you talking about next meeting?
Seriously?
I don't know. We're just gonna be tied up in the budget.
I think it's gonna be bundled with the budget.
Okay, so it's just coming up.
Yeah, it is, thank you. Next month, we're gonna be asking council for the 2024 wish list,
Okay,
so.
okay. All right. All right, yeah. All right, well, thank you very much. Good presentation. All righty,
Yes.
yeah, town plan, update on,
Well, at this point, we're waiting to find out that you folks picked Hill as the consultant of choice. The next step was to begin negotiations with Hill to come up with a contract that's acceptable to council. I had asked if you wanted me to start that process, and I was asked to put it on the agenda and have you folks talk about it.
I thought that's what we agreed on. Yeah,
We agreed to, ready to roll.
yeah, if anybody have any problem, I mean, I thought that's what we agreed on the last meeting. No, I guess not. Oh, okay.
It's not.
Like, well, he's shaking his head and he said he didn't.
Over here.
Huh? Oh, you were here. You're right. Yeah. I'm sorry. Matt you were not at the last meeting, correct?
I was on Zoom. but-
Yeah, right. Okay.
I think that the RFP said there would be an evaluation team that would review it and rank and all. We already did that, of course. But then I think perhaps, or at least I understood Matt to say that he had some hope that there would be a team that would work with him on this. Is that correct, Matt?
I don't do that.
Yeah, it says negotiations will be conducted with the firm ranked highest by the evaluation team. If the contract's I mean, I'm more than happy to speak to Hill and start this process. I mean, more than happy. But
Excuse me,
yeah, go ahead.
Joy Maria, where are you quoting from?
Page 27 under selection process.
But you're just working with what, I mean, you're not gonna determine what you're just trying to get a price and.
Yeah, based on the scope of work that was presented to them, have them come back with their number and then present it to you folks. And
So once
then-
the plan goes, everybody's gonna be involved here.
Oh, yeah.
You're just negotiating. The number.
Right, if they come back at a number that's 6 times our budget, for
Right.
example.
Right.
The selection process says if we don't find anything that works mutually, that we would move to the next highest ranked firm.
Okay.
So much of this may have to happen over email, but I would think, I strongly believe that we'll have a contract that works for everybody.
Any other questions about that? All right, so you're
I got
gonna,
it.
we don't need to vote or anything.
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
I had also been under the impression that we could.
Yeah. All right, public comment, I've got, one item here that, we got a letter from, I was instructed to read it out, at a town meeting, addressed to, myself and members of town council. Mr. Mayor, it has come to my attention that when my letter regarding homestays was read in the town council meeting of October 24, 2022, remarks were made that involved private conversations with members of the Figge family that were not meant to be made public and were done so inadvertently. It was entirely inappropriate that such remarks were made public. I deeply regret that they were, and I deeply regret any upset that doing so may have caused the Figge family or anyone else. Therefore, I would like to publicly apologize to the Figges via this letter, which I hope will be read at the next council meeting. Thank you sincerely, Sharon Hayden. All right, do we have a sign up for public? We have Rosemary Capero. You're number one. We have two people.
Thank you and good evening. I'm Rosemary Popero and I live at 9 Holly Street. I'm also a member of the Onancock Residents Group Steering Committee. So we met with which I think you already know, with the Friends of Onancock School. We're meeting with them again tomorrow evening, at which time they've agreed to us to give us copies of different phases, planned phases of the intended improvements and the building project. And they're also going to give us copies of the both the capital and operational budgets that are projected for the pavilion and also for the school itself, the HOS. So I think that both of those things are critical. We look forward to meeting with them, and we understand that. I think that you and Matt have already reviewed those plans and those projects, and we just want to move forward. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment.
Okay, Priscilla Hart.
I live at 21 Market Street. I have a couple of questions and a couple of concerns. So the first one is about the pavilion. The second one is about perceived or actual conflicts of interest. And the third question is about liability. So on the first one, I have a question about the pavilion, but I didn't know that there was a residence group. So I'm interested in knowing more about that. I had no idea. My first question is there an executed building contract for building the pavilion? Is there a contract between the builder and the town or something?
No, not the town. No,
Oh,
I know that, correct.
is there a building contract?
Ray, I can't answer that one. I don't think there's a contract on it.
Hayden, you comment on I think we've been over some of this before, but no, there's no contract. It's being built by Mr. Rick King with mostly his own money. So there's no reason to have a contract with anyone.
Okay, I have never had the opportunity to build or build anything from me without signing a contract. So that was one question. The second thing I would like to ask is on conflict of interest. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 board members and our mayor, and Mayor Fletcher and Mr. Berger are on the HOS board as well. Is that right? Okay, so
That's it, excuse me, Priscilla, that's a requirement of the lease to have,
2 members.
yes.
So does that present any conflict of interest when voting on issues for HOS?
Not according to the Virginia Conflict of Interest Law.
There is no conflict.
No, we don't,
Perceived or
we have no personal gain, by, yeah.
But can you effectively represent the town as opposed and separate that from representing the board of the school?
Like I said, there's no conflict with the Virginia statute about a conflict of interest in terms of legally.
Okay, thank you. My third question, well, here was a suggestion in case there is a perceived conflict. You have 6 members of the board. If you had an additional member, you would never have a tie vote. And an additional member could alleviate Ray or yourself from any conflict of interest in this regard.
I'm unclear about what this board.
Yeah, if you,
Council.
yeah,
Council.
6, I'm sorry, I call it a board of directors,
Yeah.
it is a council.
Right.
So if you had 7 council members, you'd never have a tie.
Well, that would be, if there's a tie, I vote.
I know that.
Right, but.
But on the HOS, I'm questioning whether or not, how you can separate.
Yeah. That would
Your
take-
views for the HOS and the town.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
The third thing I wanted to ask is about liability. And since the town owns the property at the historical Nantucket School, is there any liability on the part of the town? Or as far as the pavilion?
Matt, you can answer. Are you talking
As far
about
as
insurance liability?
Yeah, as far as the structure is concerned, it would be insured because it's our property and our building.
And the town pays property insurance for that, the HOA.
Yes.
So no liability. And what about liability as far as financing the pavilion? Any liability?
For the town, no. There's no mechanic lien and there's no lien on the property because we would have to sign as a guarantor and we will not. And they're using raised money to do it, so to build the building. So there's no debt liability.
Good, okay. And as owners of the property, then you did not need to sign any contracts.
They're allowed,
build.
they're allowed by the lease to build on the property as long as it aligns with the purpose of this, of the organization. And council voted to allow them to build this building because it did.
No council or line agreed to allow them to build the building. Yes. I think there was a question as to how the building was going to be used. And
This is a public comment, just make a.
okay, so that's fine. It is a public comment, but I have questions, and I can only
We'll
get the
try to answer,
answers from you people.
Right, sure.
And
You know,
instead of
you can
making
call-
separate meetings, it's a better
or you can
idea.
call Matt or I anytime about a specific question, we're glad to answer you, you know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other public comment? All right, well, thank you. Committee reports, first thing is I think, is appointment, to two, vacancies. The first one would be the FOS board, we just mentioned, Ray is going off the board and, Sarah has requested to be appointed to the board. So we need to vote on that. Anybody else would like to be, we can vote. So, I need a motion, to appoint, or motion, whatever you all want to do with that board. So I need a motion, some kind of motion to appoint somebody to the FOS board that, that's according to the lease, we have to have somebody on.
Well, Sarah's willing to serve, maybe
Yes.
it's Oswald, Sarah's willing to serve, I don't see anybody else's hand lining up.
All right, so do we have a motion?
I move that Sarah be appointed to the board at the school.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. So we have a new, all right, and the second, there are two items with the, planning commission. I'm a member of the planning commission and, I'm going to submit my resignation, because we don't, I was on the planning commission because no one else basically wanted to be on it about a year and a half ago. We can't have two members from council to be on the planning commission. So I'm going to resign and we need to appoint the council representative to the planning commission. Brandon currently serves on the planning commission before he was appointed to council. So there's appointment there. So I need a motion or anybody that's interested in being on the planning commission. Same thing.
Maybe it's Oswald, I'd like to nominate Joy Marito.
Do we have a second for
Just a second.
that?
I can't second you.
Sure you can.
Okay, I say.
Yeah, okay, all right. Any discussion on that?
To do it.
Yeah, if you want, yeah,
I'd like to still remain on the planning commission. I've been on that for 2 years and
okay.
have a great working relationship with the rest of the members on there.
And I think you would need to be appointed by council to continue to
Yes.
serve
Yes,
as you were,
yes, that's what we're doing, yeah. All right, do we have any discussion?
I'm a little confused. Are we trying to put two people on the planning co-
No,
So the mayor serves.
no, I just resigned.
Can you resign?
Yeah, we can't have two elected officials and I don't want, I don't want to be on the planning commission. So, not that I. I don't feel like the mayor should. I don't feel like the mayor should be. I'm an ex officio member and I will show up, but I don't vote, and I will certainly come to existing meetings, but I don't think it's right that the mayor is the council representative to the planning commission. We just did that because no one else wanted to do it. Traditionally, it's always been a council representative. And
Mr.
that,
Mayor,
and that is by statute, that we're supposed to have somebody on the planning commission. Some council member question doesn't specifically say, just one, yeah.
Okay, so to get to my question. Joy has expressed interest and Brandon has expressed interest. Are we saying that we need to choose between them?
I don't know I don't know whether we could put both of them on there.
Mr. Mayor,
I don't know the question.
if
Yeah.
we have two council members on planning commission,
Right,
you cannot attend the meeting then.
no, that's an advertised meeting, and,
It is an advertising.
yeah, I can come.
He's not a voting member of it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a public meeting. I just can't, yeah, yeah, we keep minutes and everything already on that. I know that's up to council whether we want to put two people on the planning commission. I don't know. We'd probably have to talk to our attorney about that. Because I don't know if that's, it says we're required to put one, but I don't know if it is,
I don't believe it says a maximum of one.
okay, then we can, okay.
I want to get an opinion.
So
Happily do it.
and you've retired.
I'm resigning from the planning commission. I'm retired, I'm resigning. Because I feel like I will continue to go to meetings, but I feel like I just listen and I vote, yeah. It is an advisory board, everybody's aware of that, they have to come, anything they do comes through us, so they're not. So, we have a motion on the floor, do we want to get an opinion about that? It's up to council. We don't have to appoint somebody tonight.
Why wouldn't we just do it?
I'm asking for your input.
Personally, I would like to know whether we may name more than one person.
Yes, town manager said yes.
Yes.
So there was no, you have to have one, but you don't have to have.
My question is, if that's legal, is that something we want to do? Because we're gonna stack the planning commission with the council, which, they're sort of, if they're supposed to be an independent body to, well, you're not
Advise us.
advises, so, but that's my personal opinion. I don't think it's gonna make a big difference. How many people are on the planning commission now? 7?
Yeah.
7, yeah. So we have 2 of the seats, we need an idea. If we want to hold it off until the February meeting, that's fine. If we want to think about it, or
Can we just vote on it? The two people want to serve.
vote on what we have.
We only have one motion.
We only have one motion, so we're either gonna, okay,
Right.
and then somebody can make another motion.
Nominated, I made a nomination, and is there a second or not?
Yes, Joy seconded on that motion, and I'm calling, okay, so do we want to call for the vote? Yeah,
Can I suggest we amend the motion if we want to appoint two people?
well, the person that put it on would have to amend that,
Please.
Mathis' voice is giving up. This is Cindy Holdren speaking, but she's asking me to amend the motion. Well, somebody's got
On her
to.
behalf.
Huh?
She's asking her to
Oh,
amend
okay.
it on her behalf because her voice is on there.
Would you like to amend the motion? Yes. Okay, do we have a second to the amended motion? That's amended.
No, because I thought Sarah said, we want to talk to our attorney about it.
I asked.
Yes.
We have had two people on there forever.
No,
No,
Well, not two council.
no, we've never had 2 council members.
You were on.
I was on as a council member, but there was no one, never anybody else on there that wasn't an elected official.
So.
It's right on your
There was
website.
one was required, but. So
They're required?
there was no limit.
I would absolutely have to ask if that's okay.
It specifically said the Hancock Planning Commission consists of one town council representative who acts as a liaison between planning commission and town council and 6 members appointed by the town council. That's exactly how it's stated.
One,
Oh, we have a motion, it's up to you. Did you fill your minute? Is that okay with everyone? Yes. When is the next planning commission?
First Monday of the month.
So this one.
that's all right.
All right,
It is the second, February sixth. is the next one.
well, I think it'd probably be in the best interest unless somebody wants to make another motion. Does everybody agree with that? No? Okay. Personnel committee, Joy.
Well, since we're on that, I would like to resign from the personnel committee.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll,
We did-
we'll handle that appointment at the next meeting, okay? Yeah. so that's-
Yes, we will bring that up.
Okay, thank you.
We did meet and we adjourned. We basically have nothing on the agenda.
Okay. Planning commission, we did not, we had no meeting in January, correct? Yeah,
Correct, it was a holiday.
right, yeah, right, okay. Waterfront, I don't think they met either.
No, they didn't. They're gonna be on hiatus for the winter.
Waterfront, correct,
That's what Julie said, right?
yeah, right. Mayor's report, since it's the first meeting, of the year, I kind of have a little, state of the town, memorandum here and just, I kind of wanted to give people an idea of what happened, we actually operate on a fiscal year, but this is basically a calendar year because most people want to know what we did in 2022. So I have a few things that happened in 2022 that I think we should be really proud of. And sometimes that kind of gets overlooked and, in other discussions, but we are almost finished with the $250,000 bulkhead project at the wharf. Anybody's been down there to look at that. That was a grant from the Virginia Port Authority, correct?
Yeah, and voters
And voted, yeah, so we spent very little of our own money on that. We're in the process of installing security cameras around town. That was funded by an ARPA. There again, that's not any money out of taxpayers for that. We got a grant to study King Street, to re-engineer that study. That just came, about a month or two ago. We hired a new town attorney who is very professional. I think it's going to be a great thing for the next coming years. I don't know if anybody looked at Jackson Street, but that was repaved and re-sidewalked at basically no cost because of HRSD. We purchased the Chandler building, which is the building on the right side. If you look at the Littleton building, and we have plans are underway to make it into a public restrooms and other options. I think we got some free architectural design from Main Street, and we forwarded those on to our architect up in Salisbury, and they were there last week looking at it with some engineering. So that should be hopefully a great project. The Northeast project, which is up in the Northeast District, was funded in the beginning part of 2022. We've been talking about it for quite a long time, and that's ongoing. We donated $100,000 to Escadiv. That came out of ARPA money. We received a grant of $50,000 for Virginia Tourism, which Matt is handling. We lowered the vehicle tax and we eliminated the business tools tax this year. Notice that they're gone. We allowed the second floor apartments by right in the B1 district. We revised the short-term STR ordinance for home Airbnbs and things like that. We were in the process of hiring a firm for strategic planning. It should be happening soon. We talked about that earlier. We purchased, purchasing 2 police cars. We purchased a new chipper. We're on order for a dump truck, and they came out of our capital improvement. We opened a dog park, which is there again, our ARPA money, as well as some generous donations. If you haven't been up to see the dog park, it's there. We transferred ownership of the treatment plant to HRSD. I think maybe that was the end of last year, but that's ongoing. I don't know if you've noticed it, but your water and sewer rates have actually dropped when we ran it. We also have, we got some grant that Janet talked about earlier, $1 million for the Williston facade improvement. And we spruced up the town again for Christmas, bought some more Christmas decorations. The home store started again. And we had 2 great parades after, you're missing them because of COVID. So that's just tonight, you know, what's been going on. I think, we should really be proud of ourselves. I think that's that's a pretty long list for 1 year.
Oh, Nancock.
Yeah. I don't really have anything else, anything else to say about that? Okay. All right, town manager report.
It's written in your packet, but I'm just gonna grab a couple of the highlights. One is the HRSD. If you remember, part of the contract negotiation with those folks was to have them install sewer lines on Jefferson for the new development that's going in over there. They're gonna start surveying and engineering now. Their work will begin in the early spring. They're expected to be done in May. I think one of the things that we should all celebrate is not only are we gonna have sewer and water and a new fire hydrant there, but we'll also have a freshly paved road. Yeah, that's on Jefferson. You kind of stole my thunder with the bulkhead. We got to our punch list today. We had 3 items that they have to change. We're gonna have 1 item that we're gonna have to put a change in because of the elevation of the deck boards, but really, generally speaking, the project went without a hitch. And we're all pretty excited about that.
Matt,
Go ahead.
question. The flooding that came in to the wharf just before Christmas, did that do anything to the work or the equipment other than floating the porta potty up?
The porta potty was the biggest piece of damage when it went onto its side, but no, their equipment wasn't damaged. I guess that because they're marine contractors, they're used to getting wet.
Okay.
Yeah, but the barge will be leaving in a couple of weeks. They just asked if they could stage it here because their next job is a couple of weeks out. So generally speaking, it's going to work. One of the things that we put in was that we wanted them to straighten our flagpole down there. So they'll be doing that, which should be kind of fun to watch. Let's see. You mentioned the Ready, Set, Go grant, which is the free engineering to do the work down at the end of King Street. It's called a sidewalk connection, where we're going to take it from King Street in front of Mr. Bagwell's property and loop it around and connect it to the sidewalk that's in front of Sarah Knox property. There's a lot of utilities, a lot of things that need to go on. So this is probably over $100,000 worth of engineering that they're going to do for us to allow for us to apply for the transportation alternative grant, which is what would fund a project like this. So that's that. And I've got the security cameras. I don't know if you've seen, but our electrician has been running plugs and wires up the poles. I just finished editing the shared pole agreement with A&N. It's a mind-numbing document, but that is going to allow us to tie that electricity into the high wire. Once it gets connected, our cameras are already in, they're not here, but they're ordered and they're on site. So they'll come and start doing that installation. I've got 2 places that require internet connectivity in order for the cameras to work, and I'm pursuing options for those, but business connections for internet is ridiculously expensive. So I'm trying to come up with something innovative for that. And I think that's about it for now, but everything else is written in here.
Any questions? Cindy?
I had a question under legal, Matt, the procurement policy.
Yeah.
Last I remember, you were consolidating comments from several of us on Eric's edited copy. Any idea when we might see that?
If you can give me to the end of the audit, that'd be good. The audit's this week, so I should be able to grab a hold of that early next week.
Great.
I've
Thanks.
got the comments, and I also just got the personnel back,
Okay.
so I'll be able to forward that to you.
One more question. On the police department renovation.
Yeah.
Could we see the design,
Sure.
just out of curiosity?
Yeah, sure, no problem. I mean, it's a square broken up into different pieces of squares, but yes.
Well, since we're on ARPA, I had, could you give us a little more information on the Sunset Park?
Well, right now, there's no information to be had. What we're looking at is putting basically pavers
Where? I'm not
at
even
the end
sure.
of where the bulkhead is,
At the end of the ball.
where the barge is currently parked, in between the parking lot, where the parking lot is.
Okay,
We would take it back 20 feet or so. Go straight across, get places to sit and watch the sunset and have a place for the boaters, but it's really nothing more than pavers. There's no, you know,
Between the boat launch and the Mallards building at the west end of that part of the parking lot.
along the entire bulkhead.
yes. It's gonna be sort of a triangle piece because we want to keep everything straight for the parking lot, but
How many parking spots will that take?
one,
Does that include 20 feet to the edge? There's already what, 5 or 6 feet of plastic boarding that goes down?
well, it's not plastic, but
Yeah.
yes.
Well,
It's, yeah, it's the composite deck boarding.
yeah, right. So that,
And yes, it's gonna need to go right up there. They engineered it, so there's an elevation right now to allow.
there'll be another 20 feet of papers or that?
Yes,
Okay, or why 20 feet? But
I just made that up. I don't know how far it is from one end to the other. I think it's probably,
20 feet across.
no, it's gonna be the width,
Oh, okay.
and then it's a triangle
Oh, I see.
because the end of the bulkhead is a triangle.
So we'll
It goes
see it.
crooked.
So we'll see a price and design on that.
Yeah, he's gonna put that together with me pretty quick because that elevation that's there, we have to solve that problem. It can't remain.
Trip hazard.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other questions? Mr. Clement?
I remember we talked about the Sunset Park. I don't remember us ever approving its construction. And it seems like a kind of redundancy with the parks down there. With the park that you've already set up for the people, for the voters, and they don't use. And I think this is kind of a redundancy
Well, I think we approved all the ARPA funding in just in the,
in a long.
in a lump, and then we were gonna revise, we had to vote on everything that's happening, correct?
Okay.
So that's why I think I've asked him for a cost and a thing, and at that time, we should weigh in on it.
If we choose not to do that, we're gonna have to come up with a solution for that rise.
So that price, right, correct. We don't have to go as far out in the parking lot, there are things we could do, correct? Yeah, Yeah.
We've got to talk more about it because at this point, I was assuming that the money that you had appropriated for the Sunset Park was actually appropriated for Sunset Park.
I don't think so.
And if it's not appropriated, then,
well,
I think it was an idea, but I don't remember. I'm saying I could be.
well, let's get a design and, you know, again, cost. You know, and I think you're I think you're right. We generally approved everything on that thing, but there were changes that were made. Yes,
Well, it's flexible for dollars was my understanding.
right. So what is there's still gonna be a lip at some point, right?
Not if we do this right.
You're gonna take the,
You bring the bricks back at an angle so that it's
Oh,
sloped down into
yeah.
the storm drain, so that
oh, I see.
if it comes over the bulkhead, it'll go out the storm drain and the duckbill's down in there now, so it should keep it from coming back in.
All right, well, let's get it. Any more further questions?
Councilmember Marino, the air conditioning in the town hall upstairs for, I think, $20,000. What are we gonna use that for?
Well, right now, it's an underused space because for more than half of the year, it's untenable.
Yes,
That was gonna change. We get all kinds of requests for birthday parties, for community meetings, for all of that, but it's just not an appropriate space right now.
I think we're gonna have to make some hard choices at some point about ARPA funding, because we're getting ready to do 2 big projects with the police station and the bathrooms, and if we come on, I kind of, we're probably, we might have to, it's up to council if we needed to shift some money around, but like I said, we could change money amounts. And we might have to, look at other things, I think. We're waiting on that, and I think we all agree that the public bathrooms are sort of a higher priority than air conditioning this room up here. Yeah. All right.
Can I ask a question about the financial report or?
Oh, yeah, yes, but wait, any other first things on the town manager report? Okay. All right. Financial report?
On the financial report, at one time when you had sent us the financial policy, you mentioned that it has the percentages that we have to have in reserves and various types of line items. I wondered if you would come up with dollar figures to show us where we are with our reserves. For instance, are we at 100% or 110% of what we're supposed to have according to our financial policy, or
Okay.
what our status is? in
Yeah, that's no
dollar
problem. I
amounts?
mean, the reserves are all put on page 47, but I'm glad to put policy requirements next to it. That's no
Right,
problem.
so that we can see where we are according to our
Yes,
policy.
no problem.
That's it.
Okay. Since we're halfway into the fiscal year, we're at 50% expenditures and revenues. I think this is a time to sort of say, how we doing? We're doing great with revenues. We're at 61%. Good job.
Well, that you have to also understand that our tax period was in that, in that first 6 months, so we're gonna go to zero in that pretty fast.
So you're expecting to stay at 61%?
We'll collect more, but it's gonna go into the delinquency amount. So,
Well, and then the police grants will come in there also.
yes,
Because I was questioning, you have them in the budget for 80,000, but they only received 28,000. But then when I turn to the line items, it's easy to see that those grants are on their way.
yeah, they are, and there's tiny differences, if you look at like, for example, the bank stock tax, we don't get that till May,
Right.
that type of thing. So there's timing differences all the way through.
Parks and lands, 79% expenditures.
That's because of there's a note right there on the side that says the chipper is in there. The reason the chipper's in there is because USDA hasn't reimbursed us for that yet.
But
Once it
you're
does,
expecting that.
oh, yeah,
Yeah, good. Okay. So we've only spent 35% of our budget. And we're at 50% of the year. So you're expecting to spend more the second half?
yeah, I don't see any reason that we wouldn't be at or less than budgeted expenditures. But, there again, I can't tell the future, so hopefully everything will be just fine.
And maybe this is borrowing trouble, I don't know. Eventually, we will not have revenues from the sewer. Is that correct?
That is correct.
When will that happen?
Um,
The best guess from that I know is,
I'm gonna say 18 months, and the reason it's gonna be so long is because the closing on the pump stations that are on people's property has been torturously slow. We can't transfer the collection system until that happens. So, yes, we're generating reserves from that, and hopefully we're gonna be able to sock them away, and
and that's going into the capital reserve.
it's going into the reserves. There's capital reserve is one of them.
Okay, because if we have a 2.9 million budget and we lose $847,000 from sewer, you're saying you're looking at that and you're going to talk. about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
We did that. We looked at that hard before we even considered selling the plant.
because that really impacts our budget.
If you remember the budget, we balance it by business type. So water balanced itself. The general fund balanced itself and sewer balanced itself. So when that goes away, it goes to zero, but everything else is already balanced. There will be no loss in.
So we're not using the increased revenue from the sewer to balance our operating budget. We're using it-
Absolutely not.
We're using it to build up reserves, correct?
Yes.
So if we lose it, we're not gonna.
I didn't realize that. That's good.
No, we won't.
Question on the stations, the HRSD
Pump
station.
stations?
Pump
Yes,
station
okay, yeah.
transfer. What proportion of them have already been deeded over and how many remain, or do you know?
How many do we have?
6.
6.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to understand these pump stations are on people's property. And if they have a mortgage on that property, you have to go to the mortgage holder and say, we would like to cut this little bit out of the property that you loaned the money for. So are you willing to do that? And it's a very common occurrence, according to the attorneys doing this. It's just a time consuming occurrence. And we've got one pump station that is on a property that has 3 mortgages. So it's just, that kind of thing. It just takes time. While that's going on, yes, we're going to be able to generate reserves, and we're happy about that. When it's done, we've already got a balanced budget by fund, and we'll be fine.
And HRSD is happy with that time frame, or they don't have any choice?
It's the latter.
They're not gonna back out of the deal.
No.
All right,
There's
any,
22 miles of pipeline out on 13, they're not going anywhere.
I'm talking about it. Any other financial questions about the financial report? Okay,
I'm sorry, I did have one. Our actual, page 30. Page 30. We are, and on the second line, town attorney. How many months have we had the attorney?
Well, so far in this report, it's been 2. We just signed another check for the 3rd.
So we've only had 2 months or 3 months, and we're year to date, we're headed into the hole.
that's not.
Oh, you're gonna go way into the hole on that. Yeah, you're gonna be, I mean, you had a budget of $4,500 and we're gonna be $2,000 a month for that.
Oh,
In 2.5
yeah.
months, you ate that up.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
no, you are gonna have a negative experience this month.
The budget, I did.
we don't, we voted on it, but knowing that.
But we'll have a positive reserve in order to cover the difference.
Any other financial questions?
Looking on that same page, a couple of items down, Main Street Partners. Is that an Hancock Main Street or is that a different thing?
That's in Hancock Main Street. We give them 75% of the top.
Okay,
So
so the
that-
reason that this is 30% over the whole year budget is because we did really well on,
Yeah, top was higher than, top was higher than we budgeted for.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions again? All right. Okay, town council comments, right? Joey?
I was at the dog park. I was at the dog park recently and I was so pleased. There were 5 doggies there. 1 in the small lot, 4 in the big lot. And we met a resident coming out who has also been there and 1 coming in. So that's a total of 7 people just in one afternoon that were enjoying our dog park. And it is absolutely beautiful. I hope we eventually maybe can reshuffle some ARPA funds. I know we're at budget on the dog park. And we can get some trees and shrubs and some other little. And also I was wondering if we're on the Where's Fido app to bring tourists into our dog park.
Well, I was waiting until we get our paw washing station in.
Yes.
But, yeah, the dog park is great. I mean, I go there every day and often there are 9 cars and lots of dogs. So I think it's a great addition. We've got some work to do, no doubt, but right now it's fully functional, a lot of fun.
Right. And when we get it upgraded a little, then we can put it on the app.
Yeah, very little. I think it's a great dog park if I'm
Because
traveling.
the tourists are coming.
Yeah.
Also, I want to say thank you to Main Street for their excellent presentation. And I was on 64 and we pulled into the rest stop and it was, they were dedicating their love sign. And so you had to sign the guests and I signed a Namcock and the woman's comment was, "We love your donuts." I was like, yes, we do too. So thank you.
Renowned.
Yes.
I'd like to mention to everyone, if I'm sure you saw the article in the newspaper about the bill that Linwood Lewis introduced into the General Assembly, SB 1390. That would essentially mean that our ordinance that we adopted would have no effect. We couldn't restrict the short-term rentals. So I would encourage anyone who's interested to comment to Linwood Lewis and give him your opinion on that bill, whether it be in favor or.
That was tabled this morning.
Well, good.
It doesn't mean it's killed, but it's tabled, yeah.
It's gonna, yeah, but it was tabled before 22 communities like ours went to the hearing to share their public comment, and before they were able to do that, they tabled it.
Oh, good.
Is that correct that it was only applied to realtors?
No, it's that realtors were the ones who were exempt from all
Right.
local ordinances, all local
Right.
taxes. So if I were a smart person, I would go out there and hire a realtor and
Exactly.
say to all of our Airbnbs, let me manage you. You don't have to pay taxes. You don't have to worry about occupancy. You don't have to worry about parking. You don't have to worry about, so it was a terrible.
Realtors were
Yeah, it
exempt.
was a terrible piece of legislation for small communities like ours. Sorry to interrupt, but
Great news.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
I'll tell you that for a meeting.
I didn't realize it was officially tabled.
Well,
I had mentioned that something might happen.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Francis?
I have laryngitis, so please bear with me. For Main Street, I just want to tell you, Barbara Streisand was here.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. The Northeast Project saves $35,000.
are you looking at our income for that?
Remember the playground at the playground.
Oh, it's 35,000 for the playground.
Wasn't 15,000 taken away from that?
Yeah, when you reappropriated money to give to Escadif, we had to remove money from every project.
Every project.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so now, so I think you can look for in that in some other projects here.
Well, what is it that you think we're
I'm
not
willing to-
doing?
We met with them.
Yeah.
We should restore that $15,000.
What is it that you think we're missing?
What we're missing, I don't know. I don't
Well, that's what I'm saying, is we've already found a
got
playground.
everything
It's
you need for it.
pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So, Sarah, congratulations to be on the board. I hope that you will report to us things that are happening as they are happening. Because we wouldn't be in the situation we are in now if we knew what was going on at work. And our council members and mayor were there at those meetings. And I really think there was a failure on their part to report to us, and you'll do that. Thank you.
Just a second. I mentioned the progress on the facade grant that is underway, about to be underway. Thanking that for your reply to the question on Holly and Joins. And I was gonna ask also about the short-term rental bill, so thank you, Cindy, for that. And just a question. We seem more and more to be struggling with the audio in here. Is there anything that can be done so we don't have to sit on
Yes,
the edge of
and
our
you'll see.
seats, and so that the lectern can have a working microphone too?
You're gonna see a line item in the budget to replace the sound system in here.
Thanks.
I think Hayden was spot on when he said it's been going on for far too long.
Yes. 20 years.
Yeah.
How many people show up? People here that are here to get a Brad, yeah. Anything else, Brad?
I just want to thank Main Street, the old Charlotte restaurant, the coverings on the windows, those look fantastic. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor. Big.